Hi Year 6, I hope that you are all doing well. Earlier in the week I spoke about the Oxford Book Prize. So we have been sent over 4 different books and what we need to do is read part of them and as a year group choose our favourite. So that will be a majority vote. So you can vote individually and then we'll count them up and see which book got the most votes out of over all of Year 6. And then we will send our vote forward and that will go alongside all the other votes from the other primary schools that have joined in to select a winner for the prize. So we have been sent 4 books. We haven't got time obviously to read all 4 books. What I'm going to do is just read a few chapters of each of them. So your vote can go to the one that you like the sound of the most so far, the one that you enjoyed the most so far, and the one that we choose I will then continue to read so that we can read the whole thing online together. I'm going to complete this in 4 different videos, so I'll name the video whatever the book is called, so make sure that you listen to all 4 before you put your vote forwards. I haven't read any of these books either, so I will be definitely listening and putting my vote forward as well. I'm going to start off then with this one. So this is called The Unadoptables and it is by Hannah Took. It hasn't actually got a blurb on the back, it's just a picture on the back with a few words. The blurb is on the inside cover. So I'm going to read the blurb first of all and then I will read a few chapters to see what we think. Not once have the rules for baby abandonment been broken. That is, until the autumn of 1880, when 5 babies are left in outrageous circumstances. 1 in a toolbox, 1 in a coal bucket, 1 in a picnic hamper, 1 in a wheat sack, and finally 1 in a coffin-shaped basket. Those babies were Lotta, Egg, Fenna, Sem, and Milau. And although their cruel matron might think they're unadoptable, they know their individuality is what makes them special, and so they're determined to stay together. When a most sinister gentleman appears and threatens to tear them apart, the gang make a daring escape across the frozen canals of Amsterdam. But is their real home and their real family already closer than they realise? Okay. So we start on chapter 0. So it's not often that we see a chapter 0, it usually starts on chapter 1, but this must be a bit of an introduction to the story. Little Tulip Orphanage, Amsterdam, 1880. Rules of baby abandonment. Rule 1. The baby should be wrapped in a cotton blanket. Rule 2. The baby should be placed in a wicker basket. Rule 3. The baby should be deposited on the topmost step. In all the years that Eleanora Gaspeak had been matron of the Little Tulip Orphanage, not once had the rules of baby abandonment been broken, until the summer of 1880. 5 babies were abandoned at the Little Tulip in the months that followed and, despite the rules being clearly displayed on the orphanage's front door, not one of these babies was abandoned sensibly. The first baby arrived on a bright morning at the end of August as dew glistened on the city's cobblestone streets. Swaddled in a pink cotton blanket and placed on the appropriate step was a baby with cocoa bean eyes and blonde fuzz on its head. However, the way in which Rule 2 had been disregarded left no room for forgiveness. The child was snuggled inside a tin toolbox, which had been wrapped with emerald green ribbon as if it were a present. Ugh, Eleanor Gaspeak squawked, looking down at the toolbox baby in disgust. She signalled a nearby orphan to retrieve it. Put it upstairs. The orphan nodded. What name should I put on the cot, matron? The matron curled her lip. Naming children was tedious, but necessary. She's got a lot of fingers, matron, said the orphan. The baby was sucking its thumb, making loud slurping noises that sent ants crawling up the matron's spine. She counted the child's fingers. Sure enough, it had an extra digit on each hand. Name it Lotta. The second baby arrived on a blustery evening in September, as a mischievous wind rattled the orphanage's many wooden shutters. An orphan walked into the dining hall, cradling a coal bucket as if it were a bouquet of flowers. Something was whimpering inside the bucket. Peering in, the matron was displeased to find a raven-haired infant wrapped in a soot-stained shawl, blinking up at her. Poor thing was abandoned beside the coal bunker, the orphan said. Disgraceful, Gaspique screeched, referring to the breaking of Rule 2 and Rule 3. Take it away, she said. A name for him, matron? The orphan asked nervously. Eleanora Gaspique took another reluctant look at the coal bucket baby, its charcoal-blackened nose and the shabby shawl that was wrapped snugly around it. The cotton shawl looked like it had, possibly, been brightly coloured once. Now, however, it was a mottled shade of grey, with a barely discernible pattern of darker grey ovals, like rotten eggs, the matron thought. Name it Egbert. The third baby arrived on an unusually warm afternoon in October, as ladies with parasols paraded up and down the sun-warmed street. Sitting on a bench outside in her finest puff-sleeved dress, Eleanora Gaspique opened her picnic hamper and was horrified to find a wriggling baby wedged in among cheese sandwiches and almond cake. It had a shock of curly red hair and was babbling incessantly. No cotton blanket, no wicker basket, not on the topmost step. The matron screeched shrill and loud like a boiling kettle. The picnic hamper baby immediately fell silent, its eyebrows squeezing together in a frightened frown. Up and down the street, curious faces appeared in the windows of the tall, narrow brick houses, and the strolling ladies came to a halt. Eleanora Gaspique gathered her wits and plastered on a smile for her neighbours. An orphan wove through the throng towards her. She wasn't in there a minute ago, the girl insisted, picking up the baby delicately. Take it away, Eleanora Gaspique said through gritted teeth. Yes, matron, but a name? The orphan rocked the now silent baby, gently brushing fennel seeds from its hair. The matron shuddered. Oh, name it Fenna. The fourth baby arrived on a gloomy morning in November as a blanket of fog curled over the canal behind the orphanage. The delivery bell on the second floor jangled, rung from a boat on the canal below. Using the pulley system attached outside the window, an orphan hoisted the bucket winch up. As it emerged from the fog, Eleanora Gaspique's left eye began to twitch. Inside the bucket was a baby wearing a wheat sack and a sad frown. 2 holes had been cut in the bottom of the sack to allow its unusually long legs to poke through. The matron hauled the wheat sack child inside, cursing the madness that had befallen her orphanage. Put some clothes on it, she called to the orphan hovering beside her. She looked at the baby's wonky ears, its gangly limbs, and the wheat-coloured hair that stuck out from its head at the unruliest of angles. Printed on the wheat sack were the words, Semolina flour. The matron groaned. Name it Sem. The fifth and final baby arrived under a full moon in December. As the constellations shone brightly above Amsterdam's skyline, Eleanora Gaspique had sent an orphan out onto the little tulip's roof to investigate a strange noise. Wedged behind the chimney stack, inside a coffin-shaped basket, was a baby, cooing contentedly up at the starry night sky. It had hair as dark as midnight, and eyes that were almost black. Gingerly, the orphan brought the coffin basket baby inside, where it immediately began to wail. Careful not to touch the infant, the matron reached down and pulled a toy from its clutches, a cat puppet made from the softest Amsterdam cotton and dressed in the finest silk. A faint ticking noise emanated from the toy, but the matron was tutting too loudly to hear it. Ridiculous, she said. She tossed the puppet back in the basket, on top of the black velvet blanket in which the baby was swaddled. On the corner of the blanket, embroidered in white thread, was a name, Mila. Okay, I'm going to stop there for that one. So that is the Unadoptables. Sounds interesting so far. Be interesting to see what happens to these babies, where they've come from, what will happen to them. Should be an interesting read. So if you like the sound of that one, keep it in mind, but do make sure that you listen to the others before you make your vote. Okay, the next one that I'm going to read is The Super Miraculous Journey of Freddie Yates by Jenny Pearson. So log on to the next video for that one. Thank you. Bye.